part two here is in our universal truths, which is what we're trying to do. I'm trying to establish everything. The first thing is that you need to work with your strengths. There's no reason to try to adopt somebody else's strengths for the work that you need to do. You need to use your own character strengths, the way that you see yourself. You need to apply that to this task of finding new business. The second thing you need to do is we need to be talking to the right people. If there's any super secret trick, magic trick that I can do with anybody, it's who are we talking to, and can that person really make a decision? So it's important to define, because it's usually the number one reason our sales cycles are long. See, just so you know, these are the notes I make for myself. The people we're talking to can't really make the decision that we're asking them to make. And so we rely on them to either make the sale for us, which lengthens the sales cycle, or they can never actually make that decision. We're just talking to the wrong people, and we need to bring in another approach, right? And that's why the sales cycle goes long. So the first thing we want to do is I just want to define a few roles of when we talk about who the decision maker is. It varies for every business, right, and everything that you sell. But let's define a few things by just talking about what it's not. If you've heard that you always need to go to the top, it's not always the CEO. If you are reapproaching the person who made the decision last time, it's not always the last buyer that was that you need to talk to when you're talking about something new. It may be a committee, right? That's especially in large organizations, they rely on committees to make decisions. In which case, there's a lot of different roles inside that committee as they're trying to make the best decision. What we're going to look for, the key for us, the key for you in whatever it is that you're selling, is you're looking for somebody who can prioritize budget. If I have a set budget that I'm working within, a set P&L that has been prescribed for me, and I need to make that work, that is not always the person I want to be talking to speed up my sales cycle. To speed up my sales cycle, I really need to get to the person who is helping make those decisions, who can actually take budget from division A and division B and apply it to this particular project that we're looking at. So anytime that I'm out for the rest of this, we're assuming that you're going to be able to get in front of somebody who has budget prioritization ability. To explain that, there's a graphic I have that's right below where I take product sophistication, right? And I'm assuming most of you are not selling widgets, which is on the simple product side. I forget which way it goes, but on the minus side of the product. But you're probably selling something that's a little more customizable, a lot more custom. And so in that way, it becomes more sophisticated as to, I'm going to turn this on for you, turn this off for somebody else. And then for budget control, on the bottom is not necessarily somebody who doesn't have any budget control. They may control a $1 million budget, and that's what you need. But at the top is somebody who has ultimate budget prioritization skills. What you're aiming for, because most of the people that I work with that are taking this course are really in I sell a little bit more complex of a product, a service, especially that can be customized. And I need to be talking to somebody who's in charge of a business decision. So we'll say that they have a lot more prioritization. And what we do is we enlighten them, right? We teach them what could be and how they could achieve their goals using our services, using our function. The big point is from all this is by defining what it's not, by talking about CEOs and the previous buyers and the person who does our exact role inside that company, don't make any assumptions as to who can prioritize budget. It makes a big difference as to how quickly the sales cycle moves. So that's a big assumption. So I do a lot of small business. I work with, and when I say smaller businesses, that's between, say, 10 million and 200 million. So even though 200 million doesn't sound like that small of a business, in the grand scheme of things, it's not. I don't work with a lot of big businesses. And the assumption in those businesses is that the CEO or owner plays a the makes the ultimate prioritization decision. And here's one thing I found is that a lot of those businesses, it's the family and family obligations actually weigh as much on the prioritization of the business owner as the role of the business owner themselves. So, for instance, we're talking about a particular project, and as we start talking about it, the competing priorities that I'm working with are, I see one where I'm like, oh, this is what we should be doing and this is how we should be getting there because you're trying to reach this particular goal. And then they're saying, well, yeah, that is one of my goals. But then another one is we did plan this big family reunion trip to Italy, which I'm responsible for. I need to get everybody there. And, that's a prioritization for me. Or maybe my kid is going to college. I was just watching a documentary last night, and at some point the kid, somebody was like, why are you taking this job? It's so beneath you. And he's like, because I got a kid who was going to law school and I'm going to help him pay for it. So that was a higher priority than holding on to every other job that he was doing. So the key is recognizing that that when we're looking for the right buyer, it is simply exercise in finding who can prioritize budget. So if they're responsible for ranking what is most important, and I can help them, right? They trust me enough that we can talk about what is most important, whether or not I'm number 5 out of 5 or not even on the list of the top 5. It doesn't matter to me. It speeds up my sales cycle because I can see where everything is and we can be more helpful. So I encourage you, make sure we're talking to the right people. In the forum, we're going to talk about, list a couple statements that a buyer would make that would indicate prioritization. I'll respond to those. And then looking at what other people have offered, what are some questions we can ask that will help elicit those responses? Those are the things I want you to work on right now.